Okay, so this is a video I hope to never have to make, but I guess I knew it was always a possibility. Back on May 19th, 2024, so a little over a week ago as of this recording, I was at the ABQ Super Lap event number 2, which was slated and is the last event I was going to do with the organization that I'd put a lot of my own time and effort into helping build up before the Air Force moves me to San Antonio, Texas. And I ended up crashing. I lost the rear end of the car coming out of, actually going into turn 14. Managed to hang on well enough to not hit anything till after turn exit at the beginning of the front stretch, and went backwards into the wall. It was an impact. I was going about 38 to 40 miles an hour at impact. The car was oriented perpendicular to the wall, so I hit the wall with the bumper square to the wall, but my motion was 45 degrees off, so I was going at an angle, which did lessen the blow a little bit versus if it had been square. I hit hard. I felt my helmet bounce off my roll bar. I'll include a picture in here of the witness mark on my helmet from that impact. And my helmet bounced off, and my head restraint, a Schroth brand head restraint similar to a Hans, caught the helmet and actually prevented serious whiplash. It did its job, as did the 6-point harness and the fixed back bucket seats I had. The safety gear really all did its job. I should have been injured, and I wasn't. I got evaluated by a doctor at work. I'm a Air Force aviator, so I have access to a flight surgeon, and while I had a mild headache, it was determined that I did not have a concussion. And I had some soreness in these muscles right here that really only lasted about 24 hours, and that was it. The car, on the other hand, here's a picture of what the car looks like now, a few of them actually. There's a sizable amount of damage. This is going to be very expensive. But on the good side, the car drove dead straight coming off the track, so I believe whatever damage is underneath is going to be repairable, and the car will get back on track. Not going through insurance or anything. I'm not judging those who do, but I don't do the whole insurance fraud thing. I'm fortunate enough that I can afford to fix the car myself. And I personally have more to lose if I try to say, oh, I crashed on the street when I didn't, and I get found out, than I have to gain by getting insurance to cover it. So I'm paying out of pocket. So any of you that have pictures or videos of the crash, it's okay if you share them. There's no insurance concerns or whatever. In fact, if you have any, please send them to me. I'd like to see more angles on this. So let's get into the video. The onboard video I have. I'll play it through once just in silence, and then we'll go back and talk about it. Okay, so again, you can see it was a pretty hard hit, and one of the thud sounds you hear is actually my helmet bouncing off the roll bar about 2 inches away from my GoPro mount. So we're going to go back through it again, and I'm going to talk through what happened, and we're going to then go over some lessons learned. So here we are again, going into it. I come out of turn 13, I'm going down this street here. Now as I turn into turn 14, at about the usual speed and the usual method of turning in that I usually do, very shortly after and well before the apex, you see the tail come out. And here's where there'll probably be some criticism from the keyboard warriors saying I should have done a more aggressive correction. For any of you who aren't familiar with this track, here's a Google Maps overview of what it looks like in the area. Basically, what I was trying to do was not save the lap or keep the car behind me, because that would have drugged me out wider, a more aggressive counter correction, and possibly put me into an area where I could have gone head on at higher speed into something. Now, what I was trying to do was basically catch a drift and maintain an arc that would allow me to exit the corner without hitting anything and just call that lap a write-off. As you can see, that wasn't possible, or if it was above my ability. So I continue, and you see here at this point, I take my right hand off the wheel. What has happened at this point is I have come to the conclusion that there's nothing I can do to prevent an impact. And I'm trying to relax as much as possible to minimize injuries. And I do credit that with saving me from some injuries. The only injury I haven't mentioned so far is a bruise on my elbow from that arm that was relaxed, bouncing off something when it flailed. That bruise is almost gone a week later, and who really cares about a bruise and something this severe? But that's a good lesson to take turn. If you know you're going to hit, try to be as relaxed as you can, because tense muscles, tense everything causes more injury. So then I hit. So at this point, I hit and it spins the car back pointing along the track, and I start to move and I stop. This is where we talk about how important it is to kind of keep your wits about you. I was going to try to get off the track, but I checked my mirror and saw Etta Tooley coming out of turn 14, so I elected to stay put and let her go around me, which she did. Thank you for the heads-up driving, Etta. At which point afterward, I pull off into the oval on the infield there. Wait for the session to finish. I give a thumbs up to the workers, let them know I'm okay. And then I proceed to drive off the course. And like I said, it drove dead straight. So what are some lessons learned from this whole situation, from everything that happened here? Well, there was I fell into a mental trap, one that honestly I shouldn't have. I should know better, both from my experience and with track driving and competitive driving, as well as my aviation experience. I should know not to push things when things just aren't right. So on my 2 laps leading up to this is the first session of the day, I'm going into this like I want to set a new PB before I leave. And I was desperate to do so. And that's a bad attitude. There's a few points in the previous laps where I took turns the way I normally do, but tracked the car, danced a little more, tracked out a little further, put 2 wheels on closer to the edge than I usually do, or in the dirt at one point, and I didn't back off. I should have known from how that was happening that, look, this isn't the day for a personal best, or at least this isn't the session. Maybe the conditions will improve, but there's less grip than usual. But I didn't take the hint, because I was too focused on trying to set that personal best. And that ultimately led to me going into turn 14 on that lap on the ragged edge, trying to take it like I had on my previous personal best, which was too fast for the conditions and resulted in me losing the tail and the impact that you saw. So what's the lesson here? I've been doing this track and autocross stuff for about 15 years. and this happened to me. So it can happen to you. It can happen to anyone. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how careful you are. It can happen. However, there's things you can do to minimize the risk. And one of those things is listen to what the car and your tires and situations are telling you. If you're noticing you don't have the grip you normally do, it's not the day to try for a personal best. I'm not saying give up and don't do anything, but maybe pull it back a notch and recognize this isn't the day for a personal best. And you know what? Everyone else is in those same conditions. If it's a track condition thing, your competitors are going to have the same issue. So they're going to have to pull back a little bit too, and you'll still have a good chance of placing well. If it's something with your car, well then it's not your day to win. And in this case, I don't think it was something with the car. I do think it was track conditions. From talking to a few other friends, they all said it was slicker than usual too. I just made the dumb decision to not heed that warning, and I want this video to teach people to heed that warning. That I don't care how experienced you are, this can happen to you, and you're not invincible. I also want to take it to preach safety equipment. Of course, we all wear helmets. I definitely want to encourage you to get a Snell SA rated helmet. Those are the ones actually for auto racing because they're designed for roll bar and other car interior type impacts. My SA 2020 helmet, or 2015 helmet I think it is actually, my SA 2015 helmet absolutely saved me. And if you have a harness, if you're running not the factory 3-point, but a 4-point with anti-submarining or a 5 or 6-point harness, get a head restraint. I don't care if it's a Hans device or a Schroth one like mine, or I know Tom Reynolds, you could talk to him. He has one that doesn't even rely on the harness. That's actually a really good idea for people who are running normal stock seatbelts as well. You could talk to him for more details on that. I haven't researched them very much, but I have no whiplash after going into a concrete wall at 40 miles an hour. That's entirely because of that head restraint. So I strongly encourage a good head restraint for anyone, but especially if you're running a harness. If you're not running a harness, again, get one of the ones that doesn't need a harness, one of the ones that straps to you, or if you have harnesses, one you get the horse collar style one like I have that just pins under your shoulder straps. But get a head restraint if you're in a harnessed vehicle, and consider it if you're in a normal 3-point seatbelt. And the other thing is to remember that because these things can happen, you should be prepared for the aftermath. That looks different for everyone. I'm not going to tell everyone exactly how that is. For me, that means having enough cash reserve to pay to fix it out of pocket. For others, it might mean having a safe place to store the car while they save up to fix it. If you don't have that cash reserve, your track car probably shouldn't be your daily driver. But other than that, I'm just so grateful that I'm okay. And I am okay. And I thank God for that. Seriously do. And that the car should be fixable. In a few days here, I'm taking it to a shop to get looked at, and we'll make that final determination. But looking at it and crawling under and looking around and how straight it drove and everything, I'm confident it can be fixed. It's just going to be expensive. Expect some follow-ups on my social media and maybe here on YouTube as the car gets fixed. I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to go with some aero. I'm going to get a wing. One of the reasons I've been holding off on it was I really liked the little lip spoiler I had, and I was okay with not having quite as fast lap times as I would with some aero, but I'm going to get a wing now because that spoiler's done. I'm considering a splitter, maybe some or some hood vents, but definitely a wing. There's a lot of rear end lift on the S2000, and that's part of what made it prone to the type of accident I had. I genuinely think with a wing, the rear end would have held on. But like I said, in conclusion, yep, I crashed. I'm okay. If the car's fixed in time, I will try to come back out to another ABQ Super Lap event at the end of the year, or maybe beginning of next year. I have offers from multiple people in the community to let me stay with them for that, which I'm eternally grateful for. And so the car should hopefully be back out. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who helped me out. Gary Mayfield for helping me get the car home. Everyone, the Toolies for giving me a sheltered place to just kind of sit and reflect away from some of the crowds. I want to thank everyone that was there for not overwhelming me with questions about it and giving me that space I needed to process what would happen. And I really want to thank the entire ABQ Super Lap community, whether you were at the event or not, for this absolutely incredible local grassroots motorsports organization that I had the honor and privilege to help run for 3 years. I'm so proud of how far this community's come and how awesome you guys all are and the vibe of everything, and it's such a great community. So thank you, everyone.